Hello and welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host, and we have a great show for you today. I'm going to just set it up here. Brief introduction. Downtown Birmingham has a new entry. It's Bon Chocolates, which is familiar to those who are also familiar with the city of Detroit, where, I'm just going to say Bon 3, and you're welcome to take it if you use it. And Bon 3, Bon, is a must-stop down in the coolest neighborhood in the city of Detroit, which is West Canfield. So we're talking with Alexandra Clark, who is the founder and the head chocolatier of Bon, the Birmingham's newest entry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here and have a cup of coffee with you.
Well, a cup of coffee is great. Chocolate, of course, is probably better. But I got a question here. Do you mind if I abbreviate it and say Bon 3, or do you want the full title? You tell me.
Oh, no, you go for it. I think everybody's got their own name for Bon.
Oh, boy. Well, you're welcome to use it yourself. And I'd say welcome to Birmingham. So how are things going up here? I mean, you're right downtown. You're a couple of doors down from the movie theater. How's that going?
Oh, it's awesome. We've been wanting to come out this way for a long time, and it was just a matter of finding just the right spot. And what's funny is we found the spot just from walking by, and they were putting up the sign, and we were like, well, how big is that space? Because our product, it's only 1.21 by 0.9 of an inch. All of the chocolates are the same shape and size, but all these different flavors. So they're tiny, which means we need kind of a tiny spot. And then here's the perfect 500 square foot location right next to the old movie theater. It was just...
Well, it's not just an old movie theater, it's still a movie theater.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing, go back, it isn't that far. I remember seeing Titanic there. I think they needed new sewers to get all the tears of every time. So my question is now, what is Bon Chocolates? What is that?
So the name Bon means goodie, which is essentially what we try to do. Is just make the goodest chocolate that we possibly can. And that comes from all different angles. It means it has to taste good. It means it has to use good packaging materials and systems for procuring all of those things. And all we ever really commit to is doing the best we can with whatever resources we have at that time. Mm-hmm. And I love the amount of the sort of like dynamic nature that gives the entire business, where we're constantly improving and constantly growing and learning, and everything is just, it feels very alive.
Well, here's a question. Of all the things that you could do with your life, why chocolate? Why that?
Well, I think it was encouraged by my family. They're big chocolate people. They always say that Clarks have brown eyes because we're full of something up to here. And as kids, we always would be like, it's not, it's chocolate, And my grandpa would, he would come to every single holiday he loved See's candy. And so he would order it in, and then he'd hide it in his house. And he'd show up, and there would always be one missing already. And he would tell you, he was just taste testing it, making sure it was okay so it didn't kill everyone. But he just broke into it on the way, And we have all these family photos of us just over a box of chocolate. And you try to get the coconut one before your sister did. So I think I was interested in chocolate, and I was very interested in making food from a really young age. I was 6 or 7. I took the school craft baking course for kids. I just wanted, everything about food is amazing. The fact that food grows out of the ground and then we can eat it is amazing. The fact that happens through sunlight is amazing. I got to work on a bull, beef, sheep, and dairy farm, and that was amazing. And it's everything about it is completely fascinating to me. And chocolate just is a black hole that kind of is the one that ended up really sucking me in.
Well, that's good. Now, you're from Metro Detroit.
Yeah, I grew up in Plymouth.
Plymouth? Mm-hmm. Okay. So how once again, you just decided that your website says you're an economist.
Oh, yeah. So I started in chocolate I really started from hospitality and food science. And I was studying those, and I got a chance to go study abroad. And I got to go to all of these amazing European chocolate shops.
Okay, well, before that, what's the economist? I mean,
No, so I came back, and I was like, I got to learn everything about chocolate. I was like, this is it. I want to open a chocolate shop. And I went to the food science professors that I had, and everybody kept pointing me to this one guy who was an agricultural economist. And he's like, you should go study under Hamish. And so I ended up working for USAID. And one day he walked in and said, hey, good news, bad news. The bad news is your job doesn't exist anymore. And the good news is it's waiting for you in New Zealand if you want to do your master's in agricultural economics.
So you're an economist.
Yeah, technically I'm an economist.
Well, that's good. I mean, we could talk about Keynesian economics all day, but I don't think anybody would want to watch it. Let's not. Yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
So you went to New Zealand.
Yeah, so I ended up in New Zealand, and like I said, chocolate's a black hole. Like, it really, there's so much about it. It's so complex, from its chemical structure to its value chains. Everything about it is really pretty intensely interesting. And the thing is that I really missed being in kitchens with it. And what I really missed was being around people with it. And I was sort of understanding, how can you deal with this product that has such a tumultuous history and has some really sensitive trading aspects to it, and how can you do that in a way that's like truly, sincerely good and spreading good? And the thing that really got me was child slave labor. And that's a reason enough to be careful, I think, if you're going to open a business and you understand that there's child slave labor. It's worth getting to know and understand how to not do that. So that was really what was most inspiring to me. And after a while, and after really understanding the industry, I was like, I just missed being around people. And I felt like I had learned what I had done, and I had an opportunity to do a PhD program. But ultimately, I was like, no, I think it's time to start thinking about opening my business.
So do you have a PhD?
Yeah, it feels like it. It's a different kind. No, I don't. I didn't.
So you're not Dr.
No,
Clark.
I'm not. No.
Darn. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it was like, either I can test this in an academic sense, or I can go test these ideas of how to do this in the real world. And the truth is that in an academic sense, you have to isolate the problem. And in the real world, I could kind of layer all of the theories that I wanted to test and the things I wanted to see if they would work on top of each other. But the real challenge with that, I didn't realize until I had signed my first lease in Hamtramck. And, I'm with the landlord, and we locked the door, and he drives away, and I drove around the block, so it looked like I wasn't super excited, And then I went back in, and I opened it up, and I locked the door, and I closed the shades, and I was like laying on the counter, and it was like a drop ceiling covered in all of these stains. It was just like the place I could afford. It was across the street from my roommate's grandpa's house.
Okay, so Hamtramck.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So I've left you in New Zealand.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You come back to Detroit, to home?
I come back home.
Ready to start a business.
Ready to learn. I was really writing letters to a whole bunch of chocolatiers that I admired and applying anywhere that would take me, because chocolate's sort of hard to learn. It's sort of a lost art in a sense. And so I would write these letters to people and be like, I will come work for you. I will come work for free. I'm trying to learn this, and I'll learn. These are the things that I really want to learn. These are the things I need to understand that I don't get yet. What can I learn from you, if it's okay? And most of the time, people don't even write back, but every once in a while, you would get we could use some help here with a project or packaging for the holidays, or I was on the line at Sanders and Morley in between things, or working at the Detroit Athletic Club to just kind of tie it all together.
Was Sydney Bog Chocolate still in business? Or
no, I wish. Yeah,
that was our favorite.
Yeah, I actually have never been. But I sure do hear the stories.
Yeah, it's a loss, but there it is. There's, sort of like a lot of things, things come and go. But so you're in Detroit. Who is your maybe best mentor? Who taught you the most?
Mimi Wheeler is definitely the person who had the biggest influence on me. And still, when she comes to visit Bon Bon Bon, I get very nervous. But she was the founder of Grocer's Daughter Chocolates in Empire, Michigan.
Get out of here. Okay, full disclosure again, we have a place in Empire, and where and Grocer's Daughter is the stop. And for all I know, Alice and Elizabeth and Carolyn are there right now. Yeah. So you hooked up with Mimi Wheeler, who is Grocer's Daughter.
And she is amazing. And Jody and DC, who own it now, are equally as amazing and continue to be so supportive of Bon Bon Bon. But that was really, I think, the kick in the butt that I needed was the one that Mimi gave me, which was saying, Alex, I was thinking I would make chocolate bars, because I had made so many contacts in my research world with these farmers and co-ops and people doing really interesting things kind of on the growing side. And so I was like, well, I'll just feature their beans and tell their stories and make these bars. And I was in there and working with them on some Valentine's Day stuff. And she was like, it's not bars, Alex, it's bonbons. And I was like, okay, Mimi, but then what am I going to call it? And she's like, well, I don't know. Why don't you go home, write down every single bonbon you could think to make, and then come back tomorrow and we'll talk about it. And so I went back to where I was staying, and I wrote down every
was that
single.
in Empire?
I was staying in Frankfurt, but working in Empire. Yeah,
Frankfurt.
And so I
F4.
wrote down like every single idea that I possibly had, and I was like, oh, she's right. It is bonbons. Like it's. And so I was like, oh well. And I went to sleep, and I was like, I think I'll call it bon bon bon.
Bon bon.
Yeah. Because that's what it should be, and it has the like tray bon, very good, 3 bonds. You know, it sort of is. It doesn't make sense and equally makes sense in no matter what angle you come to it from.
I think it makes perfect sense. Sorry. I speak a little French, but there you go.
Yeah.
It'd be très bon bonbon.
Yeah, exactly. You totally understand.
So now you have a name, and your mentor says, off, out of the nest and go fly.
Yes. Well, she basically said, if you want to go beat the enemy, you have to join them. So she encouraged me to go get a job at a really big chocolatier because I had only really been working in smaller kitchens. And so I did at a sort of like, it's sort of like the chocolate version of the Cheesecake Factory to just learn it. And that was the other piece of amazing advice from her, because going there and seeing just how human it was and disorganized, and there were things that were not perfect. You know, as a customer, you see the polished side of things, but working in an infrastructure that I just assumed would be somewhat flawless, and then realizing how flawed it actually was in reality was the confidence boost I needed to know that I could do it, and I could do it on that level when I was ready to get there.
Yeah, but starting with an idea to a business and a production business as well as you.
Oh, yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, there was a lot of, like I said, they're all the same shape and size. And so that shape and size was incredibly important to me, because there's this saying when you're like working in a kitchen and you're doing past desserts or past hors d'oeuvres that you want something to be 2 polite bites. So
2 polite bites.
yeah, or 1 impolite bite is what
I'm
you're
1
implying.
impolite bite.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll take yours.
So then what is that? And so I was in Plymouth, Michigan, measuring people's mouths at the bar to get the perfect size for what is the most like poppable size. Because you have those like everlasting gobstoppers and you're like, oh, you could never. And then you have things that are kind of too small in your mouth where you couldn't even get 2 bites out of it if you didn't want to. So there's this whole design side behind it. And then there's like talking to vendors where you're a no one and you're saying, hey, I have this packaging concept where they're all individually packaged, which is really important to me because you never know why somebody's buying a piece of chocolate. And when they come in, oftentimes the purpose for buying just a single piece is actually more inspiring or heartfelt than the reason why they're buying, the big 12-piece, 24-piece, whatever box.
Mine would be heartfelt. It's that my daughter in North Carolina said, this is it.
This is the one.
Please. I'm coming up for Thanksgiving and there better be here.
Yeah, well, thank you. So there's that like design side too of figuring out how am I going to package this in a way I feel really good about, which is all from local vendors and it's all curbside recyclable and who will work with me. And so there was just a big learning side from that too, of learning how to deal with things. And they ask you how many do you want, and I just made up the number 10,000. It's like 10,000 units.
It's a big number.
Yeah, felt big, but not too big, and I think it was the right answer. But I am forever indebted to those vendors who worked with me initially, whether we can still work with them now or not as we've scaled, because, man, to take me on and believe in me when we didn't even have a shop open yet was a big risk on their part.
And you have to remember that. Well, one thing we're going to have to remember is that it's time to take a break. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Alexandra Clark, who is the founder and head chocolatier of Birmingham's newest business, Bon Bon Bon. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland.
Bloomfield Township Senior Services promotes wellness and strengthens the community through social connections, fitness classes, aquatics, day trips, and more. Our staff is here to serve you, offering lifelong learning and interactive opportunities for residents age 50 and above. Invest in your vitality with us. Follow us to learn more and stay up to date. We look forward to meeting you.
Welcome back to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We're talking with Alexandra Clark, who's the founder and head chocolatier of Birmingham's newest business, Bon Bon Bon. Now, let's talk about Birmingham and coming to Birmingham. You are located, as far as I know, in the coolest block of the coolest street of Detroit. West Canfield. You're between Third Man Records and Shinola.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do better than that. So, why Birmingham of all places? I mean, you're already the king of cool here. Why come up to Birmingham?
I don't know about that, but thank you. It's a space where so many of our customers are coming from already. And it's one of those words that people will say, and they'll
Plead
ask
guilty.
for it, and they'll ask for it. But you got to find the right spot. And I was growing up in Plymouth. We have the Penn Theater, so the spot right next to the movie theater for me just felt really especially nostalgic, because Birmingham does have that same sort of like small town vibe, and to get that little spot right next to a place like the Birmingham Theater, it just, that to me was a no-brainer. It was
Wow,
like we knew we were coming out
thank
this way,
you.
but we didn't know why. We didn't know
I'm
where.
flattered.
Yeah.
Flat. Well, this is good. We're glad you're here. So it means that I don't have to go as far.
Yeah. Which people either love or hate, where they're like, oh, why'd you have to do that? Or they're thrilled that we're close by.
Now, you were saying you were getting ready to start your business. And once again, I'm looking at your website, and you say you had a taxi accident or something that happened at...
Yeah, I
How did that
funded
work?
the business from it. I was in my research job, and I was leaving a convention where I was interviewing a bunch of chocolate executives, and I got in my cab, and my cab was T-boned by an SUV and thrown into oncoming traffic.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was a wild multi-car pileup, and I hated that it happened. I was supposed to go work and live on a cacao farm for the summer, and ended up just basically in the hospital instead. And I'm ultimately grateful for it, because I hated the money I got from it. I would have rather just had my face stay together. That would have been nicer to not have that experience. But I think it made me I just wanted that money to go away. So I was willing to start my business in a way that maybe would have felt too risky otherwise. Whereas for me, I was like, well, if all of that money was gone, I would have been absolutely okay with that too.
But you took the chance to start the business.
Yeah, at least. And it wasn't quite enough money. I made this Excel spreadsheet of
it
everything
never
I
is.
need. Yeah.
It never is.
And there were things on there, but we were lucky. We were tucked right behind the Hamtramck Coney Island, and anything we didn't have, they had or had extra of. And so they were so excited about, the girls in the back are getting their chocolate shop open, and they would make sure that we never went without something that was absolutely essential.
Now you say girls because you mentioned that there's a team.
Oh,
a team
yeah.
that does it?
Yeah. So I started with a part-time employee, which was my best friend's little sister. And then my dad retired about the same time I opened my business, so he was hanging around a lot. And the team just sort of has grown and grown from there. So now we employ about 50 people.
50 people?
Yeah.
How many locations? Are you still in Hamtramck?
We have 5 full-time retail locations and our manufactory in Hamtramck. And then we have 2 permanent pop-ups that are open all the time.
Permanent pop-ups.
Where they're not every day of the week, like Eastern Market, but we're there every weekend.
You're at Eastern Market. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm flattered that Birmingham would get chosen. That's good. Now, once again, the product is. With my wife, whatever, she likes chocolate, and we've gone to Sydney Boggs for the big hunks and all that stuff,
Yeah.
which is all very good. Yours is a very unique kind of product. They're like little finger sandwiches, shall we say? What is it? 1 inch by 1 inch?
At 0.9 by 0.9 by 1.21. So pretty much.
That'll do it. But they're different, and they're different flavors.
Yeah.
So that's got to be hard to make, or maybe not. I don't know.
I think so. I think that the main thing that we're trying to do with every single one of them is to make it delicious, first and foremost, and then accurate. So if we have a name for a flavor, we want you to be able to anticipate what you're going to bite into. And when you bite into it, we want it to taste wonderful. So I think there's a lot of chocolates that we're really trying to make chocolates that embrace different flavors. So we're using chocolate as a medium to get a flavor across rather than just being completely chocolate forward. So we have a lot of people that will say, I don't really like chocolate, but I do like your chocolate. And they can't figure out why. And we're like, well, I think it's our approach in that sense is you aren't just going to get something where you're like, this is just milk chocolate. We have that too, but we're using that milk chocolate to pull a flavor out of another thought or a concept. So it's not just a ginger milk chocolate bond. We're going for a Boston cooler, and it's sort of held together by this milk chocolate flavor.
So what is your well, first of all, what's your most popular flavor?
It depends on the store. So it's
Really?
completely different depending on the area. But usually it'll be like Butter Crunch, which is potato chips and milk chocolate and sea salt. Or it'll be our cake bun, which we do with Jiffy Mix. So we lean a lot on local ingredients, whether it's, sugar from Michigan, or it's dairy from Michigan, or it's working with other people around the state that are also making interesting foods. So I like those ones also, but my personal favorite is Mustachio, which is Moscato, wine caramel, and pistachio gianduja.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What's your personal
Oh,
favorite?
it's so good. And Killer cereal, which is Fruity Pebbles and white chocolate and bergamot.
I think that's my daughter's. But
It's so good.
So what? So how do you decide that you're going to go? You say, "Gee, I think we'll have." I don't know if you have it, but Coney dog flavor.
Oh, we've done it. Yeah.
Oh, get out of here! You really do.
It was
Seriously.
too accurate. It tasted like my dad's breath when he comes home from eating a Coney, and I was like, "That's enough."
Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That's why delicious and accurate has to,
Yeah. My. Have you ever thought of getting into advertising? But no, that's good. No. So that is. What like? Do you just come up and sit around with ideas and think, well, what would be the next flavor? What would be a good flavor? And
We have no shortage of ideas. I think it's more of we constantly have this list going of ideas or things that we want to try or interesting products coming in that we get to sort of play with. Working in our kitchen's the best because we have like the highest quality ingredients and we're making these little tiny products. So it's like you really have to pack the flavor in there. But we're committed to using only natural preservation. So preservation with sugar or with salt rather than added preservatives. So it's
You're cutting
a
edge
neat
for
place
that
to
now.
be. Yeah. So it's fun to be in there and it's fun to be creating in this space.
Well, it's just like I said, I keep saying it. How do you flavors? I mean, how do you decide that you're going to do one with potato chips and things? You start using potato chips, or
Oh yeah. I think
how does the process work?
it depends on the piece. Sometimes it's very simple and you're like, okay, well, like the potato chip example, you're like, we'll just, whiz up the potato chips and mix it with milk chocolate. Maybe that'll work. And sometimes you think it'll work. And then it takes multiple iterations before you get to anything that actually tastes edible. Or you get it to a point where it's edible, but it doesn't have a shelf life. So then you have to start thinking, well, what can we do to work on the water activity of this piece in order to make it just as delicious, but be able to stay on the shelf long enough that it's safe to eat. So each bond comes with its own complexities and its own issues. And I think that's the part about having a team with really diverse experiences, whether they're work experiences or cultural experience, because all of it comes to the table in those moments where it's like, oh, I've had this thing that did this, or this one place I worked, we did this method and that worked. And that's always my favorite part is when there's a problem, it's fun to see what lands on the table.
Well, you're sort of at the connection of art versus business.
Yeah.
But there's always got to be business.
Yeah.
So are you the business person? I mean, you're the entrepreneur, the visionary. There's no doubt about that. But business, do you have a business partner or do you just have a head? You're an economist. I guess maybe you start with that, right?
I guess. Yeah. No, we're a family business and I rely on a team. I do have a head of operations now, which has been amazing. Her name's Annie. And she's really been somebody who I can absolutely rely on, who sees the business in a completely new light, and that's really helpful for me.
And I'm not an economist, but we have played one on TV. But still, really, plans? Do you have any planned product that you're ready to trot out now? Or
we're working on a line of bars called Poco Coco. So they're tiny chocolate bars that will be available not only in our stores, but also in other stores. So that's pretty exciting. That's sort of a new way of doing things for us. So that's sort of our next release. And a lot of those are collaborative bars. So it gives us a new sort of medium in which we can create and make new things.
Now, I'm sure like any business, it's not without challenges. What would be your biggest challenge right now, other than figuring out how to get through the maze of Birmingham regulations? But
No, that's been awesome. City of Birmingham has been amazing.
Get straight out of here.
Yeah, no, we've had
Really?
a very positive experience. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I will attest
knew?
to that. That's been
That's
awesome.
good. If you're listening, city manager, this is a good thing.
Yeah, that's been great. That really hasn't been the most of it. I think the challenge is just overwhelm when it's a growing business, and my role is also always growing and changing. And so, one day my job will be doing something like this. And then the next day, it's sort of hard to keep track of the priorities and figure out what they are when things are growing as rapidly as they are. And it's not wildly rapid, but I think that's the biggest challenge, is waking up every day to a brand new job, because our business just keeps changing and developing and growing and moving into something new. And that's what I want it to be. I hope it's always dynamic like that. So I certainly don't want to be the person that's the cog in the wheel on that.
Welcome to leadership. But yes, very good. Yeah, it's a niche, as you were, that doesn't seem to be filled by anybody but you, and certainly not around here. Canfield, is it? I hope traffic didn't fall off when traffic jam went down, but
oh, that was so sad. That was so sad. Yeah, we've been all right, but it's hard. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we've lost a lot of amazing Detroit brands for all different reasons, and it's hard to see. It's just hard to see. It's hard. Like I'm very excited about the return of Rose's Fine Foods, because it's just nice to see one of them come back, one of those beloved places that we all love to go to and enjoy their product. And it feels like a win for the whole city to see some of those come back. And I hope Traffic Jam can do the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's good. It's good to see the city itself come back.
Yeah.
It's glad that you've been part. You really felt you were part of that. You were really part of that rebirth, weren't you?
Oh, thank you. I would hope so. I hope we would contribute something, if nothing else, just feeding chocolate to the people who are doing it.
Well, West Canfield, like I said, when Jack White is your neighbor, how are you gonna be any less cool than that? and Chenola on the other side. So, any future plans for expansion, or?
I think it's much like Birmingham. There's places we would love to go, and we're just willing to wait for that perfect, like, pulls on your heartstrings retail location to show up in that space. So we would be open to expanding. We have no current plans for expansion, but we do have our eyes on real estate in a few different markets. Just if the right thing comes up, then we'd be happy to do it. But Birmingham took years before we found the right spot, so we're willing to wait.
Well, I wish I hope it wasn't because we kept you out.
No, not at all. No, just had to fight. I think it's the same thing with our Ann Arbor location. We're in Nichols Arcade, and it's that
Nichols Arcade.
Yeah, that covered walkway, and it just. My father-in-law bought his first suit in Nichols Arcade. Like, there's, I love those stories, and I really hope Bon 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 is one of those brands that's still here in 100 years, where they're saying, this is where I went on my first date with your grandpa. Like, that's what I hope it would be. And so I think you have to think about that, even from a real estate location, is like, we aren't just here to blow up this giant brand. We're here to be a community staple and be around in 100 years. So we got to pick locations like that too.
Well, I hope so too. Well, we've been talking with Alexandra Clark, who's the founder and head chocolatier of Bon Bon Bon, Bon times 3, or to the third power. Newest entry into downtown Birmingham, just south of the movie theater. Great story. And I think you have a website, right? bonbonbon.com?
That's right.
And go take a look, or come on, walk on down and check it out. Great story. And what is your favorite? Give us your favorite quick before we have to end up. Your favorite candy. Like your children, right?
Oh, mustachio. But if you want to know their favorite, it's probably the cake bon.
Cake bon or mustachio, but not the Coney dog.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Alexandra Clark, Bon
Thank
Bon
you.
Bon. And thank you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.